Welcome, everybody, and welcome to the Family Matters podcast. Family Matters has just started launching a podcast. We are adding this format as a way to reach more families in Illinois and professionals with key information about disability support and special education advocacy and navigation. This podcast brings the voice and experience of a variety of professionals and families to the table and focuses on exploring experiences, introducing best practices that are being implemented across the state, exploring services and supports, and sharing the input and guidance of families. As a reminder, Family Matters is not a legal service, and we cannot provide you with legal advice. Information you're receiving in this podcast should not be construed as legal advice. Family Matters is one of the two federally funded parent training and information centers in the state of Illinois, and we operate under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, this content does not necessarily represent the policies of the U.S. Department of Education and should not be assumed an endorsement by the federal government. So, my name is Abby Mars. I'm an educational support coach here at Family Matters, and today we're going to be talking about early intervention services and extended services. So, at this time, I'd like to introduce Abby Hardy. She is our intern for Family Matters Parent Training and Information Center, and she will be hosting our podcast today.
Hello, my name is Abby Hardy, and I am just finishing up my second year as a doctoral student at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign in the area of special education. I taught for 8 years in a kindergarten through second grade self-contained classroom over in Washington State, and then did a brief stint as an early intervention provider before moving out here to Illinois.
So I feel like you're definitely an expert in this area for our topic today for early intervention services. So I think before we talk about extended services, it's important that we understand what early intervention services are. So could you give us a brief explanation of what early intervention services are?
Yeah, early intervention is a program that provides services to families with infants and toddlers from birth to their third birthday. It serves children and their families if the child has certain medical diagnoses from a doctor, if they have 30% or more delay in at least one area, or if they have risk factors for developing a developmental delay or disability. So if a child is found eligible for early intervention services, the providers and the family will put together an individualized family service plan, or an IFSP, that will make the plan for what services will be provided and what goals the providers will work on. So families can receive services to support their child's development in things like developmental therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, social work services, nutrition support. There's a wide variety of things that early intervention can provide supports with, and it's all provided in the child and family's natural environments. So typically that's at home or in child care centers.
Okay, so how does one get started to receive early intervention services?
So anyone can provide a referral to early intervention services. So if a parent is concerned, they can call directly, or a physician can make the referral, a child care provider can make a referral. Anyone who knows the child and family and is concerned about their development can make a referral. In Illinois, the early intervention is provided through Child and Family Connections offices. So each Child and Family Connections office covers a particular geographic area. Usually it's by county, unless you're in Cook County, and then it's by zip code. So the first point of contact would be figuring out where your local Child and Family Connections office is based and giving them a phone call. And you can figure that out most easily by Googling CFC and your county, or you can go to providerconnections.org to find that information.
So back in the day, so my son's 21. So back in the day, I remember getting a referral from our local WIC or Women's and Children's office. So we just went in for our regular WIC appointment and noticed some delays in different areas, and that started the referral process. So I'm assuming, although he's 21, that's kind of how the process still works in that area. So
Yes, anyone who's noticing developmental concerns can make that phone call or fax in a referral, but phone call is probably the easiest way to get started.
that's awesome. And I remember that being compared to the other services that we've applied for or received. I remember that being a fairly easy process. It was, the referral was made by WIC, and we then made a doctor's appointment, and the same from the doctor. And it was pretty soon after that that we had our first meeting with our case coordinator. So I felt like that went pretty smoothly, and then we just developed a plan from there. So you had mentioned that this is for any child ages 0 to 3 who someone has noticed may have some type of a delay to have a referral. And then through the IFSP process or the individualized service plan that's developed, the child starts to receive services in some form of therapy. So, what I want to touch on now is the key, that age 3. So, there's something now called early intervention extended services. Can you explain to us a little bit what that is?
Yeah. Extended services are a way for certain children whose birthdays are from May 1st through August 31st to continue to get services over the summer after they turn 3 and before they start school year services from the school district or local special education cooperative. So often, if a child turns 3 in May, say, they wouldn't start receiving school year services from their local district because the school year is wrapping up. And so early intervention is able to provide continued services through the summer to support those families and children while they're in the process of getting started with their local school district or special education cooperative.
So we're going to backtrack just for a second, and I should have included this when Abby and I were kind of talking about questions earlier. But your individualized family service plan has potential to turn into an individualized education plan as your child starts to prepare for early childhood or preschool services with your home district. So could you explain to it just a tad what that might look like for a family?
Sure. So the transition process starts when a child is 2.5. And that's when the early intervention providers would send a referral packet to the local school district or special education cooperative. And the district or special education co-op will assess the child, do a records review, and potentially do an additional evaluation to determine whether or not the child is eligible for special education services at that point. So the criteria for being eligible is a little bit different between early intervention and school age services, which kick in at the 3rd birthday. So if a child is found eligible for services through the school district or special education co-op, the family will meet with the school district and put together a plan for what services the child will receive as they turn 3 and where that will be. So that could be in a inclusive preschool environment. It could be in a Head Start classroom. It could be isolated services that the child just comes for speech therapy once a week. But those services will look a little bit different. They're much more child-centered as opposed to the early intervention, which is family-centered. So that's a big change for a lot of families when they hit that 3rd birthday.
Absolutely. And I really love that extended services is a thing now. I had a child with a birthday in the middle of summer. So this was, of course, a long, long time ago. And we, stopped receiving early intervention speech and developmental therapy services at his 3rd birthday, and then had to wait till the following late August until he started school. Even though we'd met with the district and made the IEP, the school year didn't start until then. So that was a long month and a half there, and I feel like he really lost a lot during that time frame. So I think that's where it's important to have the extended services as to play a part, because he would have been able to, take advantage of something like that. So I think it's a great that we do this. I can't remember when it started. It's not been super long ago, but there's lots of families that still call our office here and not know that that's a possibility. So if they feel like their child might be eligible for extended services, who would they ask about this?
The primary point of contact for that is probably going to be your service coordinator, who you should be very familiar with as part of your IFSP team. as long as your child has a birthday between May 1st and August 31st and has been found eligible for school age services at the age of 3, extended services should be an option for your family.
So we did touch on that your early intervention services may look different than the services you receive at your school. And we talked about that and how your therapies are more education based instead of family based. That doesn't mean that one is better than the other by any means. It's just a way that we're teaching your child and helping to educate and support your child in the school environment. So if you're watching this, on your screen, you can see that I've shared a document from the Early Intervention Clearinghouse about early intervention and extended services. We will share this on our website. But Abby, just before we finish up today, can you tell me a little bit more? If I'm more interested in EI services, I can again reach out to anyone who may be working with my child. I can call my local CFC, I guess, to ask about what early intervention services look like too.
Exactly. Yep. Contacting your CFC is a great first step, and they'll get you scheduled for an evaluation that is free of charge to the family. And they typically get moving pretty quickly to get you evaluated and set up for services if appropriate.
And sometimes this is our first step as parents in the special education process. So I always felt like it was a very supported process. I had, therapists that we are still friends with today, came to high school graduation, the whole deal. So it was a very comfortable first step into the process, and I felt very supported. And I think a lot of parents still hold firm to that with their kids when they start early intervention. So
Yeah, it's definitely designed to support the whole family and help the family learn the system, walk them through those first couple of years of getting services, and really build up the family's capacity to support their child's developmental progress.
it's really a great program, absolutely wonderful program.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, that's all we have for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us for our podcast today, focusing on early intervention and extended services. If you have more questions about the process, you can always contact Family Matters or your local CFC. The Early Intervention Clearinghouse is also a great resource, and all those will be shared on our website. So, Abby, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll have you back
Yes.
soon.
Thank you for having me.